Hello and welcome to the Ecom Elites podcast, where we dive into the minds of leaders, innovators, and trailblazers in the e-commerce world. I'm Jake the Wizard, your host, and I'm bringing you the real insights of people who've navigated the ups and the downs of building successful online businesses. In each episode, we talk about the wins, the losses, and the lessons that made a difference. So if you're in the e-commerce space or you're just starting your journey, you're in the right place to pick up the strategies and stories to help you grow and succeed. Today, I have Jack Georges. What's going on, Jack? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh man, I'm fantastic.
All right.
I'm really excited to hear your story. So let's just start off with an easy one. Tell me about Jack Georges.
Well, Jack Georges is a person, is a brand. I have to say, I did have, when I started my own business, I had a mentor. And like everybody else, as an older gentleman, he said to me, Jack, you have a great personality. You have the right ingredient. I think you should name the company and your name. And I said, Monty, that's scary. To put your name, he said, trust me, I'm older than your dad. This is a great for you. You'll always protect your brand. You're always going to protect what you stand for. And I think you have as I said, God bless his soul. He passed away. He was a very great mentor. It did pay, and again, 38 years later today, I'm still, running the business today. Business had changes. You have to be able to adapt.
Oh, absolutely. I can't imagine. I mean, 38 years, you were kind of pre-internet. So how did you get into leather products?
Well, again, I grew up in the leather business. My mother's side were shoemakers. And as a young kid growing up, I went to see my dad and my that side of the family. And I learned a lot of little things, hearing, listening. And as a kid, I think you're like sponge. You suck information. It's amazing how that information goes in. Then I came to the U.S. in 1976, age 18 years old. We had a civil war back home, so I came in alone. And I paid my dues. I work in a shop, working for $2.50 an hour, putting 80 hours work. It was a great opportunity. I became a supervisor at age 20, a buyer at 21. And in 1982, they said, you are the only single guy in the company. We're going to send you to overseas. So I went to Taiwan, at that time, mainland China, Korea. So here I was, I didn't even shave by then, but somehow or another, that was a great opportunity to see that hand. And I did many different steps. And I think that's the difference is you start as a worker, you become a manager. How you become a manager, how you become a better. And I give advice to anybody. If you work for 40 hours, you have to be sure that you are the first one going there. When you leave, you have to go to your boss and say, I'm leaving, anything else I could do. Nobody will ever ask you to do more, but that's always going to be the reason why you're going to be promoted to the next level. So my first year coming to the state as age 18, I couldn't afford to go to school. I was staying away from home. Actually, I did work 71 hours the first week I came here. So my point is the first year I saved enough money that I felt I was comfortable. I was rich because I made more than I spend. And today people said, what's mean rich? I said, rich is not how much money you make, is how much money you spend and how much you got. So if you put yourself in a year or two, you take 2 years of your life and you say, you know what, I'm going to give it everything I can and put that many hours in, you're going to leave. First, you're going to spend half of let's see, a guy make $50,000 and he spent $50,000, you get nothing left in the bank. But if you put yourself in that 1 year segment and work 80 hours work, let's see. That by itself will give you'll double your income and you'll cut your expenses by half or by third. So all of a sudden you have enough equity to start a business, maybe to buy a piece of real estate, to feel comfortable. And I think those are a very, very important segment that coincidentally has happened to me, or I could speak every day about that subject. And what bothered me today in a lot of generation, a lot of young people today, they always on behind. They always, the bills have to be paid. It's always a credit card charges. Always, I mean, it is a little bit, again, I'm not going to say the negative side, but there is a reason why. And if you have it 3 years of, I mean, what I call rich person in life is when you have a 3 years expense in a bank. That way defined rich for me. It doesn't matter if you make $1 million and you spend $1.2 million, you're still broke. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. So you worked for this leather company manufacturer, and then something changed, and you started your own.
I became vice president. I did everything, as I said, from manufacturing to sales and marketing. I was personally engaged. We broke up the engagement, and I resigned from a job as executive vice president. I think the time was right for me to move on my own. The direction I was trying to do was to focus on personal and more manufacturing in the U.S. So I started a little bit in a loft in New York City in '87. In 1990, 2 years later, I bought my own building and I moved to Jersey, and which is what I'm still sitting 35 years later. That probably was one of the best investment I did. Everything went according to the plan. But I was profitable for 37, 38 years. So I look at it as very, very important that every year I'm in business, the reward is not the profitability. The reward is that you did your job, you maintain your name, you maintain your quality, you maintain your integrity and profitability. So, and I think that's our fundamental that I leave in those goals.
Absolutely. And maintaining that over such a long period of time. Now, the marketplace for products has obviously changed since 1987 to today. What were the major shifts for you?
Well, the major shift was I walk into any doors anywhere in the country. I traveled the 48 state in the state, I open up every door myself, and then I hired salespeople. So I had the opportunity to be in every city in America and every mall and every shopping mall. So that was really a good opportunity. I had a good staff here. So when I was traveling, I took advantage. I paid different prices. So I get married a little bit late in life because I was married to my business and I couldn't afford to. So that took 12, 13 years to do that. The 87 time was a different time. There was a lot of personal retailers were all over the country, a lot of small retailers that they need the personal touch. So I was there with them. Today, the challenge is very different. And also, the educational is different. We lost a majority of our retailer. But if you don't adapt, when the market switched for made in USA to start to do some overseas product, I was able to do that. Today, if I'm not capable maybe to be, in high tech, but then you hire people who's in charge. So I have IT guy, I have a different team today that I didn't need 20, 30 years ago. But if you don't have them today, you can move on to the next, so today our business changed to online. And we're spending a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of effort, but you have to be able to do that. But the principle of it, the product still the same. Is a quality product. We stand behind what we do. We have lifetime warranty in the product. And, but we went from from a retailer to consumer direct, which is a very challenging, but you have to move with time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm curious because, obviously, the desire for products continues, but the desire for price doesn't tend to increase with that. How did you maintain your premium positioning over time as maybe cheaper or overseas source competitors came into the marketplace?
We didn't worry about what other people do. We did exactly fair value. I came to the market as high-end line. And who are you to go in and preach that you are, to compete? I was personal. We made the quality product. As I said, I had a 1 lifetime warranty before anybody else in our industry. And I was unique. So when I preach a better retailer, I was selling myself as unique product. It's genuine. I went to Dallas and I opened up Neiman Marcus. I was in business 6 months. Who are you to open up Neiman Marcus in 6 months in business? There I preach that I'll give you exclusivity in Dallas. We are a brand new brand line. You're not going to be shoved all around the country. So that was approach to do that. Every retailer had a different strategy that you're going to, attack or at least try to gain. But I went through the inside door, though. I didn't go to the buyers. Before I went to the buyer, I went and worked my way through the salespeople on the floor. Warm them up to the product, speak time with them, what they think. So when I went up to the buyer always would want his manager, their input. If I already work them out, they already seen the product, they already understood it, I preach my, quality, So when the buyer listened to his staff and the staff said, oh, we love the product, So you already have an intro in. And that's really how Jack George was instrumental, that every door we went in, that we were able to break through in a different, position. I showed my line to 107 account the first year in business. I opened up 104 on the spot.
Wow, that's incredible.
And you know what? The two out of three, they said, Jack, if we buy the product, we're gonna do you harm because you're still producing small quantity. And this was a very large retailer that I have a connection to. And they said, and you know what? I pray for every day for what they did to me, not buying the product, because they would have been, 100 store chain, and you're starting a new production. All of a sudden, you're only selling one guy or two. So I went to all the smaller retailer, able to open all of them, as I said, and those two. The three of them followed. One of them took a year, one of them took two, and by third year, I sold every account I had approached. We were able to do that, from better retailers. But at that time was more specialty stores, then became the Neiman and the Bloomingdale and, the Marshall Field of the world. And so we did that.
I love that. That's so interesting. Everybody wants to go big, and you kept it small, which was the smart play.
You go according to your plan. I mean, this is a great country and it's a big country. So in one way, you could really be a very unique and very different. Instead of expanding the line, I was cookie cutter, producing the same product, but exposing them in every city, in a place here and there, where other people would say, you know what, I'm in Jersey and I'm in New York, and I'm just going to sell many more. So I did all around the country, producing the similar product. This way was no conflict of retailer at that time. I mean, it was not internet that people will be exposed. So everybody had to be in those stores in order to see this product. It's a different approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, if I can, as a luxury product provider, I would imagine a big portion of your revenue comes from repeat purchases or repeat clients.
Absolutely.
What's that look like as a luxury product provider? How do you get them to come back and continue to purchase the products?
Well, they come in back to buy a product related to the items they already have, but it's also a recommendation for their children. I mean, we our major market is the briefcases was our, and lawyers was probably one of our best, consumers. And believe it or not, 30 years, 35 years later, they said, you know what? Wasn't the first briefcase I got when I graduated from law school, and now my son has graduated from law school. I like to buy him, and we still make the same bag.
Oh my gosh!
We made sure in a very limited piece. I'm not saying it's a big part of our business, but we still make what's called the classic. The same product was made 35 years ago. Till today is still made in a limited pieces. The value goes up because the value, like everything else, is. But that's create a feeling that there's consistency. We make them exactly the same hardware, the same same thing. And I'm proud that it's timeless design in a lot of way. Market went casual. We were more dressier. We were semi-dressier. Became very dressier in the 80s. And today, I think we went back to more casual. So you have to adapt not only the marketing, the product itself. You cannot sell the same thing on and on. But there's a limited market that's still like at that classic style. So
I think that's fantastic. One question we always like to ask on the podcast, and you talked a little bit about this, the key is avoiding or mitigating your mistakes. Were there any mistakes that you made that you remember that you go, if I could go back and do that one, that's the one I would fix?
I think honestly, it's maybe bragging about. I had the opportunity working for a larger firm, and I knew what mistake we did or the company did. So I learned out of it that not to feel, one, to overwhelm yourself, to overexpend. So I expend based on my own way of growth. I didn't grow because the market pushed me to grow. I grow according only. So when I didn't have enough production, I didn't expose more account. I didn't expose more. So I made sure that, because as I said, we work, 52 weeks a year. I don't think I ever closed one day because of business is bad or not. We produced product and we sold it. So I think there's a little bit of that was important segment of the market. Could you do that in any business? I think there's some. You have to be strong financially, which is we became. I start with limited value, limited cash in the bank. So where would you get the money? So I sold myself, but we were profitable from the day first. As I said, I hold two jobs. I had my own business. I start and I work for other. People said, "How come you're running a business?" I said, "I can't afford to take a salary of my own business." So I made sure that I became, free. So I basically really work. As I said, I work my ass off.
And you said that throughout. Is there any wisdom you could impart on the hard work or the work ethic piece to maybe someone who's just getting started in their own product line, a mentality or something that you could share?
Well, I think again, if you starting a business, they said, "Oh, but you need money." If you think you need a lot of cash to start a business, maybe you shouldn't, because a business could start selling a newspaper on a corner. You could be, a door. You have to think. I always felt, I give advice to some people, and I had a cousin who was going to college, and handsome guy, and he's going this. I said, my advice to you: get a job. Friday and Saturday night is going to be your enemy as a young, good-looking young man. Get a job that time. So he worked for valet parking in clubs in Houston, Texas, and he said, "You know what? It's great. I'm hearing the music. I'm outside. I'm parking car. I'm making money. And Friday and Saturday I make." So somehow or another, if you really focus on of what's your strength and what's your weaknesses, you're gonna feel those. So for a guy like him, working Friday night and Saturday night, getting all the the entertainment on the outside and still making money instead of taking somebody out and break his bank, it's a philosophy that you have to believe in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Jack George's, what's next? Is there anything you can tell us, like, that you're excited about, new products? What's coming down the pipe?
Well, we got again. We are. We do quite a bit travel product. We were briefcase makers. Today we do a lot of carry-on, all leather. We're doing great job in a small leather good wallets and passport covers and travel documentation. The new product coming in will be a belts. It's another one just coming under the pipeline. I'm looking at jewelry, leather accessory. That's something is a smaller package. Personalization, we do a personalization here at the shop. So when you order a wallet or briefcase or others, we do that. As it's done, we stamp it with your name, initials, and that's somehow or another a great service for consumers. So that again, So those are the product. You always have to keep in mind what's in the market, what's coming in, and where the shift is going. You're going to be with where the market goes. At one time, we were yellows and orange, and those colors today more softer tone and more natural leather. And but you have to be able to change with the time.
I love
And
that.
once a week, even though I own my own business, even though I may not need the cash, I may not need to work anymore. I'm 66 years old, so I'm not a youngster anymore. But you know what? I enjoy coming to work. The work to me is, and I'm a worker. Doesn't matter if a container coming in, I could be on the street and load it too. So I don't find who's the boss. And in the end of the day, there's one boss who buy the product.
Absolutely, the customer is the boss.
So whether you are a chairman or you're president, make you no different. You know, still that person who buy your product is your boss.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, so
I think
so
it's
I do have
great.
a boss. The boss is the person who buy a $50 or $70 wallet is still my boss. He's the one I work for. So
I love that. So if I want to find you and your products, where's the best place for that?
well, again, I mean, if it's specialty retailers, whatever left in the market today, we are there. We are known as called a quality brand without the branding.
Mm.
You know, there's a two market. I mean, people when they think brand, they look at two segment. One guy wanna be with the cliche. I don't wear anything with a brand sticking, you know, and that's not that's not me, and that's not my customer. Which is we're lucky to be in a country like the U.S. As large as it is. There's always so what we find is our customers don't wear a cliche. I call it a cliche. I don't know if you know what cliche. It
The
is they don't
Gucci, the
want
Prada.
you don't want to have a stamp sticking out and because that not defined you. So again, there's nothing wrong with those. And people said, oh, but they paid $3,000 for a vinyl bag. I don't want to say what's the name on it. I said, so is it worth it? I said, of course it's worth it because you want to put that label on you. So if that label costs $3,000 a bag, I don't care if it's made out of plastic. You want that product, it's worth the money.
Right.
But our customers are, as I said, a little different. They want quality product, they want a lasting product, but they don't want to have stigma, you know, and that's natural. That's really what we are. So we are high-end quality, high-end price point, but more targeted to, you know, that clientele.
Well, thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate your time. If you want to get Jack's products, obviously go to jackgeorges.com. That's going to be the best place for it. And yeah, thanks so much for spending your time and your wisdom with me today.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you.